Welcome to VE9CB. So here's my shack in the basement of my house. You'll see in the middle Yaesu FTDX 5000. That's my principal HF transceiver. To the right there's a Kenwood TS 590. That's a second rig that I use. I work a lot of contests and I find it very useful to have a second transceiver operating on a different band at times. On the upper left is a Kenwood TL922 amplifier. On the upper left is an Ameritron AL80 amplifier. I also have another TL922. I have a lot of antenna switching and controlling here built into the shack. Of course, there's one rotator that's working right now, and that's for one of the two towers out in the backyard. So I've got a tail twister on one tower. In the column of equipment that you see on the left, you see a 6x2 antenna switch, so I can direct any of 6 antennas to either of the two HF transceivers I have here. Just below that 6x2 antenna switch there is another remote coax switch, and that controls a 40-meter antenna called a 4-square. At the bottom is a set of bandpass filters that I use when I'm operating with two transceivers at the same time. And here on top of my second rig is another set of bandpass filters that I use, again, when I'm using two transceivers at the same time in a contest. The rest of the shack includes some equipment that I'm working on right now. I have a couple of old amplifiers here. The one on the left is a Tempo 6 and 2. It's good for 6 and 2 meters. I got that from the estate of a ham I knew up in Ontario, and haven't got it working yet. Haven't tried to really. The amplifier that you see on the left is an old Heathkit SB220 that I have partially modified for 160 meters. It's not quite working yet either, but I plan to bring that with me up to Labrador for some of the contest operations I do from up there. The rest of the shack includes a workbench and a lot of storage, a lot of magazines, a lot of QSL cards, a lot of bits and bobs that I haven't got very well organized yet. Whoever called it wireless didn't know what they were talking about. These are all the wires and cables that surround my two HF rigs. Everything feeds out into a piece of ABS pipe that goes into the backyard out to the antenna farm. So in the backyard I have two towers. The one on the left is 65 feet tall. The one on the right is 70 feet tall. The tower on the left has got an X7 tri-bander and a 5-element Yagi for 6 meters on top. And the one on the right has a TH5 tri-bander. So as well on this tower, I have a 4-element vertical array for 40 meters called a 4-square. What this consists of really is 4 vertical dipoles hanging off the tower. They all are fed through equal lengths of coax into a remote coax switch that allows me to choose directions. So the antenna basically functions like a 3 or 4 element wire Yagi in the vertical plane, and I can switch directions from inside the shack. Off the other tower, you can't see it, but I have a vertical for 80 meters that really consists of a dipole that's arranged as an inverted 7. So part of the antenna folds back against the tower at the top and against the tower at the bottom, but it effectively performs like a vertical, and it's a very effective antenna on 80 meters. When I first bought this house, one of the great attractions was the tree in the backyard. This tree is a full 90 feet tall, and it supports a 160 meter inverted L that I put up there with a bow and arrow. Anyway, very, very effective antenna on 160 meters. And I have lots of spare tower sections for future projects. I hope to put up a couple more towers, probably in a different future location. So out here in the garage, I have my satellite antennas. I do some portable satellite operating, and what I've done is I've been able to build up an 16 element circularly polarized Yagi for 435 and an 8 element circularly polarized Yagi for 2 meters. They go on a common boom, and I mount them on a tripod, and I can set up and operate from different locations, different grid squares when operating on some of the amateur radio satellites. I use a couple of Yaesu FT817 transceivers as the transceivers for those operations. That's it. That's a complete tour of my station. 7-3 from VE9CB.